Hi everyone, so today I'm going to show you how to paint beautiful fluid orchids using ink. I absolutely love orchids. I picked up a few in the supermarket the other day to kind of brighten my mood since it's wintertime and it's cloudy outside. I am using Dr. P.H. Martin's ink in blue, and I'm also using a Liquitex ink in magenta, and I'm just mixing these two together to get the right shade of plum. I don't want to use like a straight up purple color. I really think that this will look nice if it's a very vibrant plummy raspberry color. So the key to this is to add more of the magenta color or more of the pink color. If you choose to use pink, you can do that, than the blue, to make it a little bit more plummy. And so I'm just taking a separate sheet of paper and I'm going to make a few swatches to see the exact color that I want to use. So you can see that the color that I'm painting now is a little bit more lighter, it's plummier than the color that I painted previously. Okay, so I'm using a wet on wet technique, and I'm using my watercolor brush to paint the petals in the shape of the flower. So I am not using any type of pencil this time. I'm not outlining the flowers like I would usually do on my previous videos. I'm just using water to outline the shape of every piece of the flower. So if you feel like you cannot follow the watercolors or the water that you're putting down, you can add just a drop of ink to your can of water or your glass of water and then paint the petals with the water on the paper. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to take my watercolor brush, I'm going to dip it in my ink, and I'm going to make sure there's a lot of ink on that brush, and I'm just going to dab the watercolor in the middle of the petals. I'm not going to manipulate it. I'm not going to try to force it into the shape of the flowers. I'm just going to dab it in the middle and let the ink flow where it wants to go. Just keep dabbing it and dabbing it and dabbing it. And what you could do is you could add a little bit more blue in like a separate little pod and add the darker colors in the middle. Add the light color first and then add the darker colors second, and that'll give it a beautiful fluid look. All right, so you see the bottom of this little flower. It's called the lips and the throat of the flower. So I guess that's where the pollen goes in. I'm going to add a little bit of red to my berry color. And then I'm just going to draw this little shape. And this little shape does not have to be perfect. If you Google any type of orchid drawings, you've seen it drawn a million different ways. That's the beauty of using watercolors and using inks, is that you can kind of create this dreamy piece of art without it being so verbatim and without it being so realistic. It's kind of like an idea of what you want the painting to look like or what you want the world to look like. So that's the beauty of watercolors. So I'm just lightly painting this little detail in. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm taking the end of my angled brush and I'm just painting a few lines coming from the middle of the flower. The lines are also on the realistic flower, so I'm not just making this up, but what I'm doing is I'm alternating the lines with water. So I'm drawing these lines and then I'm going to put water on it to kind of blend it out. So I'm dabbing a little bit of water to sort of blend this color out. Okay, so I'm just drawing a second petal, well, the second flower, and I'm using a little bit of a darker purple color. Obviously, I've added more blue to this flower, and I'm pretty much painting it the exact same way. Okay, so one way that you can make your paintings more interesting, and I will definitely do a video explaining this in detail, that's by incorporating line drawings with your watercolor drawings. So you can see that I've added a few lines to this third flower, and you can do that with watercolor, or you can wait till your painting dries and you can take a pointed tip marker. I really love tumble markers for this, or you can use a pointed color pencil, or you can use any kind of charcoal, as long as it's like, to me, it really needs to be sharp and pointy to add those little fine details, and you can just add lines to your painting. Okay, so I'm gonna paint the stem of these orchids. I'm not gonna paint any leaves this time, but I'm just painting the stems with some green ink, and I'm painting these little unborn orchids with the green ink and some brown ink. Okay, so this is what really brings it to life, in my opinion. This is Horadam gouache paint. So I'm taking a little bit of gouache paint on a very sharp tipped brush, a very pointed brush, and I'm just adding some dots in the middle of the orchids with this gouache paint. And that just makes it look very beautiful. It adds that very realistic kind of touch to it. Another way that you can do this, if you do not have gouache paint, if you have masking fluid, you can add masking fluid before you put down your watercolors in these little dots. Put your watercolors down, your inks down, and then once everything dries, you can peel the masking fluid off, and then you'll have that blank white space. So you won't even have paint in that space. It'll just be an empty space that'll look like those little speckles that you see on orchid flowers. Okay guys, so that's pretty much it. If you wanted to add more detail, you absolutely could. I really love for it to look like this, very fluid. I'm going to add some yellow in the middle, and I'll show you guys how the yellow will really start to bring it together. Okay, so you can see that the throat and the lips of the flowers has this beautiful yellow color that blends into this like ox blood color. So I'm just going to take some yellow ink, and this is also by Dr. P.H. Martins. This is from the hybrid line. It's a little bit thicker, especially since I've had it for a while, but I'm just adding it in the middle, and I'm going to also take some water and sort of blend this yellow color out to finish off our orchids. Okay guys, and that pretty much sums it up. I'm going to also show you how I painted orchids with more detail. Okay, so these are orchids that I painted with a little bit more detail. I did use the line drawing more on this one, so I'll do a video, and you guys let me know if you want to see a video on adding line drawings with this one. And I also added a little bit more gouache paint on the petals and the flowers on this one. So it's pretty much just using the same technique, just adding more detail. Let me know which one you guys like the most and which one you would like a further tutorial on. Okay guys, that's pretty much how to paint orchids in a nutshell. If you all try this, definitely put the picture up on social media and tag me by using the hashtag #KrisKeys. I will see you on the next video. Have a wonderful week. Ciao.